Hello. Today we're going to do some mountaineering. They say today. I mean, this is not a sort of live broadcast. Not sort of the days of when people will huddle around their television and watch things. You're watching this at any time. You know, you're watching this early morning, late in the middle of the night, whatever. Where today feels less appropriate in the middle of the night. I don't know why. I mean, it's still technically part of the day, but it just feels not quite right if you're watching in night in this neon wonderland, kind of retro futurist 80s vibe. For some reason, Transport Tycoon videos are a part of that. Anyway, mountaineering. So we want to connect Little Shelford West down to Bucknell. There's rather a problem with that, which is there's a mountain in the way. Very inconvenient, very inconsiderate. So we also have the thing that while we could just plough through it with our millions, or rather our single million and a bit that are built up from our profitable lines, that really, we want to avoid doing that. The reason we want to avoid doing that is that we do want to build this blast furnace, so we do want to keep this relatively cheap. Relatively. So let's have a look. So let's see if we can build that. So length 11 tunnel. Don't want to do that. So no, a little bit less length on these. So length 10 might just about be okay. So why do you want shorter tunnels? And it's not just that longer tunnels get more expensive. There's a practical reason, which is the signalling distance. So if I built an enormous long tunnel that went all the way through there, end to end, it'd cost me millions, which would be problematic. But B, I would only ever be able to fit one train in it. And that would, sometimes that can be useful. And so sometimes on a line, save you having to endlessly timetable things, you might want the odd long tunnel up bridge just to space trains out, a sort of spacing system. Oh, wow, 111 tile long tunnel. In fact, the game just says I can't do that. Not allowed. But yeah, so if you build really long tunnel, it can be useful for spacing. If you say I don't want trains to get closer than this, a long tunnel can be quite useful for that, or long bridge or whatever, because you could still auto signal. And you will still get nicely spaced signals. In fact, the auto signaler will try and put them at the start and end of your tunnel section as well. But you get a nice gap. But I don't want too much of a gap on this passenger line, which may become a busy passenger line one day. No, as the towns on it expand. So let's come around here. Let's think about this. So what I'm trying to do as well here a little bit is work with the contours. What I have. So I have there's a little ridge which is coming around here. This ridge, so maybe. Actually, I don't want to do it like that. What I think I want to do is to pop that down there. How big is that? Length 13. That's a bit over the top. But then we can sort of bring this down again. So let's have a look. So that will come out there. 11,000 on that ridge. Cut this ridge up a little bit. Length 11. Let's try to keep it down to length 10. Length 10 will be quite nice. So there we go. That comes there. So now what we can do is we can come and sort of run along this ridge. This would be sort of where the train drivers and the mega horses and whatever else, this would be where they come to have their late night drift competitions on this ridge. There's a good turn here. You imagine some, horse getting a good sort of letting its rear legs slide out and getting a good drift on going around there. That would definitely have lots of Eurobeat music. And importantly, as we say, this is all about a grand unifying theme that I have. This is not just random whatever comes in my head. This is very, very cleverly plotted nonsense. And this ties us back to a neon retro futurism, because I think that's definitely something that drift competitions benefit from. So lots of neon retro futurism as you drive sort of your 1980s or early 1990s, predominantly Japanese car around a mountain and slide it about a bit, slightly antisocially, but that's never explored in such things. So, yeah, so we've sort of hugged this ridge quite nicely. Nice little mountainous route here. And what I'm doing here is trying to balance between not too much environmental destruction. We're not going to get Captain Planet knocking on our door and saying, I'm going to be very dull and boring and give you some sort of environmental message and tell you not to do this. You're going to be vanquished probably by some sort of annoying children. Definitely, that was. I think this was another thing with the environmental message cartoons. Is maybe they came at the wrong time of life. But there's a certain thing in the very sort of Saturday animation cartoons of 80s and 90s, very annoying child characters. I don't quite know why. What it was that they said, we'll make this child character really annoying. Just constantly asking pointless questions and having a really squeaky voice or something like that. I don't know quite what the driver for it was, but maybe they were just produced, I don't know. For the sort of cartoons were produced by people who just didn't like children. Inflict on them. So it's just sort of like I guess these local authorities are going to hate us because we just destroyed a ton of trees to coming down here. But I was really intending to be a little bit sort of careful as I came down here, not destroy too much, and then maybe that build the station and then annoy them. But no, unfortunately, I annoyed them first by some incessant, squeaky voiced questioning and whatever else my annoying character. And the archetype for that was the sort of puppy from Scooby-Doo, which was just it seemed to have this one-dimensional character trait of annoyance, and never really clear quite why. I think maybe that kind of thing, really executive meddling. So really this was came out of some focus group that you have to have a character that children can relate to, and that definitely, like the kind of people who end up in sort of executive focus groups, definitely sort of view children as an inconvenience. So that's really why they really go, we need a character children can relate to. What children relate to? Well, they're annoying. So let's just add a character who's annoying. Maybe this is what I need. Maybe I should have made like an annoying horse with a stupid voice. But the era of horses is over, and now the era of trains, and there's not really. And the thing with train-based cartoons is there's kind of one. You probably know of which I speak, which is Thomas and various incarnations of Thomas the Tank Engine, which have existed over the years, and that I don't know. There's sort of, in retrospect, thinking about some of the Railway series stories, there's a certain element of what you might call bratishness of the engines in that, I think, but certainly not annoying. Certainly not annoying voice. I mean, the classic era, the era of which I would say it's a classic era because it's my era, but the original era of Thomas the Tank Engine was of course narrated by ex-Beatle Ringo Starr, and now this is a thing because back in the day, as it were, if you're some 5, I think 5 is the age that I recall watching this program from. Don't want to do that. No. Yes, it was something that I enjoyed very, very young child. It's you obviously don't have this notion of what the Beatles are, who they were, or why they're important. So just sort of narrated by Ringo Starr, like, ooh, that narrator's got a really cool name. Then very nice, really nice sort of laid back style that he brought to it as well. So sort of the antithesis of Scrappy Doo and constant sort of yelling and shouting at a high pitch. It's very, very laid back. So kind of imagine that. Well, I have to be careful what I say because I didn't want to sort of libel myself or anything. So I'm not going to make any reference to anything. But just to say, that imagine Ringo having in a very, very relaxed state when he came into the studio, very, mellow. So that's good. So yes, but yeah, they're very non-British, but I don't really know there are any other. I've seen obviously. I think there are cartoons now which have trains and some places. They're maybe a bit more exciting. A lot of these things are very. The British produced DV would quite often, with the Nosebook, they would have quite a sort of surrealist vibe to a lot of it. Certainly anything Oliver Postgate did was very much we are entertaining ourselves as much as we're entertaining children. They seemed to like doing it, and there was. You find sort of names that come up in classic British children's TVs. What are people sort of the kind of, I guess we call it perhaps the private eye orbit, the sort of quite famous satirists and the satirical cartoonists would get involved in it. They sort of brought this kind of slightly anarchic, slightly eccentric air to it, and I think partly also it was. It's the difference. Oh, that looks cool. Let's have one of those. Let's not have one of those. So, traction engine, what can we use it for? There is something we can use it for. And I noticed this while I was looking at stuff offline. I didn't share this with you, but Carbridge Barnes is really, really rather. This is not going too well. On this, it's not going too well. Of course, it's not going too well. You're busy talking about sort of television programs of your youth and not concentrating on the tycooning. And let's replace these. Let's replace these trays with traction engines, which will solve two problems at a stroke. Three problems. Firstly, it will use these traction engines. Secondly, it will mean, because these have much higher capacity, these will also result in taking more of this food away. And, yes, that will be good. We'll get higher profits from it. That will help get us towards our blast furnace. But I'm just going to let this build. Ooh, yes, look at that. Traction engine along. That looks good. Excellent. Happy with that. Let's get back to our mountaineering. Or rather, not our mountaineering. We've gone through the mounting. We've done the difficult bit. We now just need to do the easy bit of connecting it up to Red Line. So what we could do is we have a couple of options here. We could make this a two-way terminus, and we could just stop this here and say, well, there's a shuttle train which goes there, and they say, yeah, let's do that, actually. That gives us some expansion potential for the future. So I'm going to just make this, extend this out a bit, and then, make this, in future it'll be a shuttle line, but for now, it'll just be a nice terminus. So let us do that. Let's find the buffer stops, because I want to make this correct. Where was I? I was talking about annoying voices and relaxed ex-Beatles and things like that. And yeah, so I didn't really know what Beatle. Yeah, no, we went through that one. Yes, the pastoral nature of British children's TV, and so a lot of it was produced by the sort of privatised satirists and whatever, and had very short. But even those had this sort of very let's wind back. Let's re-navigate that maze. Let's. What was it we talked about? Climbing a tree of conversation. Let's navigate among all these branches and where we've ended up. And let's start thinking about, what's going on. What's going on in our mind? What do we need to unwind and rewind and navigate through to get to somewhere useful? So the executive meddling of kind of US programs seemed to be much more around the level of, we need a character to do this. This needs to appeal to children. This needs to do it in this way. this was sort of the way in which it surfaced. The executives didn't really like this stuff, so they just interfered with it and made it worse. Whereas the British version of it was rather different in approach. The British TV program was not, we don't like this, so we're going to interfere with it and make it worse. Was, we don't like this, so we're just going to pretend it doesn't exist. We're going to tell you to lock yourselves up in a room somewhere and just produce children's television. So, and that produced wonderful things. But one thing that was quite noticeable with suddenly the sort of up to the 80s was very sort of pastoral nature of it. It was a kind of, at about the same level, you kind of felt that maybe one of the things that had been involved a lot in the production of this stuff was, early 70s folky music of the type, which was quite big at the time. You kind of find little elements of evidence for this. That suddenly things like the soundtrack for The Wicker Man has lots and lots of this wonderful sort of pastoral early 70s folk, which was very popular at the time that it was created. And you kind of felt that sort of influence fed through into the nature of the British television program. Like Postman Pat and whatever. He very much a sort of, there's no excitement engineered into the classic era of that. In fact, but really quite an awful postman. I think it usually takes him sort of an entire, whatever it is, 20 minutes to deliver a single letter, which in these television times, like an entire morning. There's obviously not, the demands on the Greendale post office are not great. But let's go with this. I was building Crampton, yes. Building a Crampton because I thought that Crampton was a good choice. Medium speed, medium zoominess. I didn't want to build a lady class because this isn't an express. But yeah, this really is pastoral thing. Not really very much in the way of excitement, but deliberate. Like very deliberate. I think a very different air to the Cottage, which were dull because they aimed for excitement and missed because they were too busy trying to put important messages in them or whatever. They were just unlikable characters. That was the sort of thing that was intended for not much to happen, and nothing very much happened. There's rather an amount of charm to it. I think that sort of thing of, this doesn't need to be exciting. We don't need to make this exciting and crazy and wild. I think it has now. I think it's succumbed to the fact that the old-fashioned British go away and lock yourself in a room that provided everything from sort of these slightly surrealist puppet-driven shows to sort of the very pastoral things about rural post services and train engines and whatever, and also things like all the classic computer gaming shows. The early 90s still have that sort of vibe of you're being left alone to get on with it. Sadly, the UK did kind of pick up more of this meddling with children's television, and so now I believe there's things like if you watch Postman Pat now, I think he's got like a helicopter and probably some sort of rocket ship in which he delivers post to the moon, because children's television has to be exciting, can't be pastoral and gentle. Very inconsistent, really, aren't I? Because I spent one episode moaning about cartoons being dull, and now I'm extolling the virtues of dullness in your youthful entertainment. But I think it's a very different thing, actually. I think there's a very different thing between some dull, which is just, characters that you can't really get behind and whatever else, and just sort of pastoral and pleasant. Sort of, the difference between kind of, as I say, probably, yes, that's early 70s kind of folky music vibe. It is that kind of thing. Like, it's not exciting. It's not, not like sort of pounding techno or whatever, but still pleasant. Still quite nice to sort of, listen to, sip a nice drink of an evening. Not very much. I think this was very much a sort of, a little bit of an influence on this. And I mean, this is it. This is where all of those sort of pastoral television programs I watched and all this pastoral early 70s folk albums that I've listened to late 60s ones are starting to come through. That maybe this is what this is. We are, we are the sort of Lindisfarne or the Fairport convention of OpenTTD. This sort of things happen. Very Lion seems to be consistently problematic in terms of profit. Why does Lion do so badly? It's not particularly old. It's not particularly... New Rock no longer accepts coal. That's a disaster that I probably should have attended to earlier. Let's do that. Let's make that better. It's in fact... New Rock seems to be rather shrinking, doesn't it? Why is New Rock so troubled as a town? We want some more passengers transported. We should do that. Yeah, let's put some stagecoaches in. That's a timetable looking at here. Oh yeah, so they have a start date. What not? But yeah, New Rock is rather struggling. I think New Rock should really be doing better than it does. Let's see, that accepts coal. So what I just need to do is reprofile the station a bit. Come on, exit. Lions are not very... Lions don't have much attractive effort, do they? The locomotive, that is. What is the attractive effort of an African lion? Really? Maybe this is something that nature documentaries have adequately explored. Is how many wagons could a lion pull? It's going to be the next thing for Timberwolf's trains, isn't it? Rather than the horses, lions. Lion, 2 lion, mega lion, giga lion. So with this Crampton that we set up, Gift Knock and Radir, and this is going okay. Now, one thing that's interesting is this is going to complete the chain of the Radir line. This is going to, with cargo distribution, this is going to now add a route which lets you go all the way from the Carbis Bay all the way up to Little Shelford West if you change trains. And some passengers will want to avail themselves of that. So let's see how that goes. May not work out for us, but I'm going to just group these trains up as well. So this is going to be... Yes, let's call this the Mountain Ridge Line. See, I'm now getting this sort of... It's not silly, it's not ridiculous, it's not sort of high action. It's a very sort of gentle, pastoral, folky sort of line. There we go, the music of folk. Let's do that. Let's make some tribute. So this could be Dylan West, I think, the arbiter of that. This can be the Fairport Convention Centre. I'm saying this the curse of doing these just ad hoc. My mind is just becoming completely blank of folky sort of early 70s bands. Lindisfarne Woods. It's a Radir can be renamed as well. Radir can become a collection, because this is a band that rather obscure that I actually like quite a lot. A little bit sort of that bridge between kind of more psychedelic stuff and more folky stuff. They're more late 60s. They do some very more late 60s type things. Their album cover has a mannequin on it that has been made up to look as if there is a naked lady on the cover, though there's not really. It's just a mannequin with additional contouring. There we go. Let's do that. Let's build another train. And I think that is probably a good place to leave our pastoral folk-tinged journey through the woods. And I shall see you next time.